We're going to start our long document project. So part one will be to take content that has been supplied to us, in this case in a Word document, put it into an InDesign document, and then we're going to apply formatting and style sheets to it. And then we're going to save that style sheet format setup, and then next week apply it to a larger document. So what we're going to do first is we're going to take this content that has been supplied to us. It's in the Word document that's in Blackboard. It's titled long document underscore styles dash unformatted. And copy all of this, move over to InDesign, and we're going to choose a new file, and then we'll make some selections here to make our lives easier. So we want 8.5 by 11 portrait. I just know in this particular case it'll be 2 pages. And I'm not going to do facing pages just for ease of the demonstration. 1 column, and then for our margins, we'll move up those up to 1 inch. And then we're also going to do what's called the primary text frame. That is going to give us one text frame that will then jump to other pages as we paste text in. It'll be a link. So hit create, select our text tool, click inside that box, and then do paste. This is our resulting unformatted text. Okay. So if you don't already have the paragraph styles palette showing, you can go up under Window, Styles, and select Paragraph Styles. Okay. So we'll be working in this palette. So to begin, let's start with our chapter header. Okay. So place your cursor in that line anywhere. Come over here to our paragraph styles. Click on the Create New Style button. And then it'll pop this up here as paragraph style 1. Okay. So double click on that. And it will open up what we see here, the paragraph style options dialog box. Okay. So we're going to name it. In this case, I'm going to name it chapter style. Let's just do chapter header style. Okay. And then we'll, based on a next style we will talk about later, so leave those both set to no for now. Okay. Click down here to do the basic character formats. Okay. The font that I'm going to choose, just keep it easy, we'll do Helvetica. Okay. I'm going to make it bold because it's a header. For the size, we'll go up to 16. And then what we'll do here is, because it's a header, we can drop the leading a little bit. It doesn't need the same amount of space as body copy does. They can be closer together. And we're also going to make it all caps. And now that you're not dealing with descenders and ascenders, again, you can close up the leading a little bit. So I'm actually going to make the leading 16 as well. Keep everything else the same for now. Keep all that the same. Did I forget one? Case. Yeah, I forgot case back up here in the basic formats. All caps. And then we'll jump down to indents and spacing. Okay. So what I'm going to do for all of these is give it a left indent of 1/4 inch. So what this does in a textbook is it gives me a little bit of space between where the text starts and that left margin, where I can add icons, a question mark icon or an exclamation point icon or things like that. Just gives me a little more room to work with adding some things in that margin. And then you've got space before and space after, and this we're going to wrestle with a little bit as we go, okay? But it is exactly what it sounds like. It adds space before and after each paragraph. Okay? Now, space before in this particular case, because it's a chapter header, will always be the first thing on the page. I don't have to worry about space before at all. Space after, we'll give it an eighth of an inch. Okay? We might change that later as we see how things work. Okay? And then the last thing I want to do, drop down here to the character color, and we'll make it blue. This should be a stock blue that comes as a default with InDesign. Okay. And then one thing that's a little more advanced is up here in this keep options. Because this is a paragraph header, it will always be the first thing on the page. Okay. So as this text we have flows between, a 3-page document, 200-page document, I always want this header to start on the next page, okay, which guarantees that it will always be at the top of the page. Okay. We'll hit OK, and you'll see what we've come up with here. Let me zoom in a little bit. So it's blue, it's all caps, it's indented, it's got a very tight leading on it. And then we see we've got it over here now in our style sheet. Okay. And there's one other thing that I like to do when I name styles. Okay. When you open up an InDesign document that you may have inherited from somebody, there's going to be all sorts of different headers, header styles, paragraph styles, different styles in there. And you're not going to know the difference between the ones that came with the document and the ones that you've created. So when I create a style sheet name, I always throw an asterisk or something else in there that lets me know visually that that's one that I created. Okay. So now you'll see it appear over here. So now if I wanted to apply this style somewhere else, I just click once, click, and off it goes. Okay. You'll see it jumps down to its own page and it applies that formatting. Okay. So I'll undo that. Go up here and then make sure that you save your document. Don't want to lose anything. So next, we'll do our headline. Okay. So we're going to make this headline 1. Thing, create new style. It gives us that default paragraph style 1. Click on that guy. Header 1. Again, based on the next style, we will ignore those for now. Basic character styles. We'll go back to Helvetica. We'll make it bold again. So this is the headline. We'll make it larger than our body copy, but smaller than our headline, or chapter header, so we'll make it 14 point. Case we're going to keep normal. And then we'll jump down to our indents and spacing. And again, do our space before and our space after. So our space before on this one, because it's a header, we'll give it a little more space before. And then our space after, we'll give it an eighth of an inch. Okay. And what you're going to do is you're going to see how these will start to pile up. The space after of our chapter header and space before of our header will add together. Okay, so you'll actually get 0.375 for the space between those two, and you add the space after of the one before it and the space before of the one that you're looking at now. And you'll see the only thing that I forgot here was that left indent. So I'm going to go back in, go to my indent and spacing, a 1/4 inch left indent, forgot my asterisk too. Now we've got our headline. Now you'll see here, this gap, I believe, is too big now. Okay. So edit things quickly. Go back into our header style. Go back into our spacing, and we're going to nope, let's not change this one. Let's change this one. Sorry for that. We'll drop this guy back down to 1.25. Just there's a little bit better space now. So now let's create our body copy. So same thing. Create a new style because it's our default name. Double click on that. Body copy with the asterisk. Keep these guys the same for now. Basic character formats. Again, we'll go Helvetica. Regular. I'm going to make this 10 point. I'm going to increase the leading because it's smaller font and a longer, a wider page. The increased leading will help with the readability a little bit. Jump down to our indents and spacing, giving us our left indent, 1/4 of an inch. And then a smaller space before, because again, it's going to add on to the space after from the header that's in front of it. Okay, we'll see what we come up with. So now we've got a decent body copy. Headline, header 1, and our chapter header. Okay? So now you'll see we can start to apply things relatively quickly. And when you start to get into full-size books, you can actually assign quick keys to assign these. And it can be very quick because you just click in once, hit a keystroke, and the format is assigned, and then you just move on to the next one very quickly. So our learning objectives, if I look back in my Word document, see what level that is. That's the same as this one, so it'll be H1. Header 1. And then we've got this line, which we will see. It's same as body copy, but it also has some italics in it. So what we'll do is we'll apply body copy to it. But now I want to make it italics. Okay. Now, if I can apply italics, I can simply highlight the text and choose an italic font. But then if I do that, I won't be able to change it across the whole document. And we'll see where that comes in and how important that is later. But what I can do is I can create a paragraph style that is italics. Okay. So I can come over here again, click on a new style, there's my default, click on that, I can call this italics. And then you'll see here, I am going to base it on body copy. And this starts to behave the way, if those of you that are familiar with web design, the same way as cascading style sheets does. Okay. So what I can do now is if I were to change anything in body copy, let's make the point size 11 point or make it gray or something like that, that change would apply to this as well. Okay. So I will be able to make bulk changes across all of the body copy and all of the paragraphs style sheets based off of body copy. And then the only thing you need to do here to change it is to make it an italic Helvetica. And now it gives us our body copy, yet it's italics. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on our first bulleted or numbered list. Okay. Now to make some of this easier to see, I am going to go up here, under the type, all the way at the bottom, show hidden characters. And this gives me all of the characters that are there, and we start to learn a little bit about the underlying structure of the document. Okay, when people type in Word, in order to make a space between two paragraphs, they just hit a hard return and then another hard return and start typing again. Okay? That's not the way we're going to do it in InDesign, because these we don't have any control over them really. There's always going to be this space there. I'm going to rely on my space before and my space after to handle that. And the importance of that is now I can tweak this. If I have a 200-page document, I have to limit it to 200 pages, but I have 202 pages of text, I can reduce this space very slightly, by a hundredth of an inch or a tenth of an inch, and that will remove that space across the whole 200 pages, and it'll pull the text back and keep it within the 200. Okay? I have this minute amount of detail and control now to allow me to make that text expand and contract and fill the space that I have. Okay? I won't have as much control if I have all these hard returns forced in here. Okay? So it's one of the first things that you will do when you get a document like this is you're going to have to go in and remove some of that old school formatting. Okay? Paragraph returns between every paragraph. Sometimes you'll even get people who are still typing 2 spaces at the end of each sentence, things like that. You have to go in and fix all those things. Okay? So let's go down here to our bulleted list. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a paragraph style sheet called list. So we can see a little bit what we're doing. Okay. So the differences for list is that I still want each item in the list to be its own paragraph, as it is here. But I don't want space between them. I want it to appear as though it's the same spacing as in body copy. Okay. So for based on, I'm still going to choose body copy. And then for the indents and spacing, there's going to be no space before. And then we will leave it that way for now. We'll get into the tabs again in a minute. But you realize it only applied to the one paragraph because that's where I had the cursor. So what I can do now is highlight all of these and apply it all at once. Get rid of my hard returns. And now we're going to see over here, we've got this issue where this line should be bumped over to match up to this guy, okay? So there are other ways to do this. There are ways to force it with giving it a first line indent, a left indent, making one of them set to negative. That gets detailed. It might be something you'll have to do in a very advanced document with specific lists. But for now, we have basically a trick. Okay, it's called the indent here. And I believe that is under Insert Special Character, Other, Indent to here. And that'll force every line after the first line in a particular paragraph to be indented to that point. Okay? And we'll see it gives you that little, looks like a cross character. So far, so good. So here we have assigned readings and work. We can go back into Word and see what level that is. That's an H1. Header 1. Get rid of our extra paragraph returns. And now this one, if this is a header 1, we can make this header 2 and make it a slightly smaller one. So again, a new one, new paragraph style, click, header 2, we will base it on header 1. That way, if somebody was to come to you later and say, can you make every header green? Yep, if I make header 1 green, all the header 1s will turn green, and all the header 2s will turn green. Okay. We have it based on there. Basic character formats, let's knock this down to 12 point. And I think we'll keep everything else the same. Now we've got H1 and H2. Forgot my asterisk. This looks like it should be body copy as well. But here, we should probably apply the list. Paragraph style sheet, so that cleans that up. Okay. So resources, we'll make that an H2. Clean this up. These look like body copy as well. But it is kind of a list, isn't it? So maybe we should make that list. If it is a list, we should probably put some bullets in there. So what you'll see people do sometimes is they'll tab, put in a tab, put a bullet, put a space. You'll see this document has set up the other way. The tab comes after the number or after the bullet. Okay. Whichever you do, just be consistent. So that when you make changes across the whole document, it stays consistent across the whole document. And it allows you to change the whole document in one shot. If you have bullets tabbed one way in one position and one way in another position, and you make a change, you might only change half of them and not get them all. So being very consistent allows you to make these document-wide changes without any issues. Let's go to the next page. This is another body copy. H2. Here we've got another list. But you see here, we wanted these indented, and then we want these 3 indented further. So here's where we'll start messing with how to set up the tabs. So we know that all of this is set up as a list. So we can alter our list style sheet and apply tabs. So what we would do first is we want this guy tabbed over, this one tabbed over, that one's going to get tabbed over twice. I'm going to hide those hidden characters for now. So we can see that this isn't the best spacing that we can come up with here. Okay, we can do better. So go to list and we're going to go to tabs, and you can see this ruler that's given, and then the different types of tabs: left, center, right, and then tab to a specific character. Okay, we'll work with just left for now. Now, these 2 items here, that's our left indent that we set already. Okay, our 0.25 left indent. So we don't have to change that. We just want to change where these tabs go. Okay. Clicking here and then clicking on the ruler applies that tab, but you also see over on the left there, it gives us a handy little line that shows us where that tab would go. So I'm okay with that first one. That depth's okay. Now we know there's tabs in here. Let's have them tab to there. These tabs look good where they are. Let's set that up. So that one's good. And then this one will move there. So now I've got a tab set up basically at every quarter of an inch. So each one gets tabbed in 1/4 of an inch. Okay? So since that is set up as a style sheet, if I ever wanted to change these distances, I just change it in one place. Okay? This looks like an H2. Then we'll come down here to this, and let's see how that is formatted in Word. And it's even kind of sloppy in Word. So we can do better than that, but again, by setting up the tabs. First thing we do is give this body copy. And we're going to set up a tab that will tab everything over and leaving space for, in this particular case, our longest word here, because we have a word and then we have a definition, okay? So in this case, I want everything tabbed over it's this far to leave room for illustrations if included, okay? So we can go back into body copy, and we're going to set up a tab using our line so that we just clear that illustrations if included. That cleans it up a little bit. I'm going to show the characters again so we can see that we're working with our tabs. This is what the character is for a tab. Okay? We're going to do that indent here. Special character, other indent to here. And that character can actually be copied and pasted. So that cleans that up a little bit. We can hide those characters now. All right, so that handles our character style sheets. I'm sorry, our paragraph style sheets. Now we're going to do character style sheets. So let's say that I want to make a word bold or italics or green or something like that. I don't want the whole paragraph. A paragraph style sheet affects an entire paragraph. So I can do a character style sheet. Now, usually right away when I'm working in a document, I set up character style sheets for bold and italics right off the bat. So I'm going to create a new one. And one thing I'm going to change here is bold. I don't have to specify anything else because it's all going to already be inherited by the paragraph that it's in. Okay? So I don't need to specify any of this stuff if I don't have to. Okay? I want it to be the same font, same size, same leading, everything just bold. So you see that makes it bold, and then I can apply that to each of these. Indent here on this guy. Now here, you know, set that up for bold. Set this one up for bold. Okay. So now it's still the body copy paragraph style, but I've got bold words in it. You see here, now I've got an issue. Because I made this bold and made it wider, now my tabs aren't big enough. Okay. So I can go into the body copy style sheet, go down to the tabs, and just move that tab over a little bit. And all of them will move. And that's it. I'm going to do one more. I'll do just for sake of this, we'll make a italics character style sheet for this word of this periodical. italics, and then all I need to change is italic. Okay. Now that will set up to italics. Okay. So that is it. Save this. So now I've got body copy for bold, body copy for italics on my character style sheets. And my character style sheets, I have 2 headers, a chapter title, a list, body copy, italic body copy, and bold body copy. Okay. So I've got all my paragraph styles set up. The assignment for this week is to turn in this document just as I built it. You've built one following along with one additional requirement. You have to go in and you have to create a style sheet to style this website. Okay, so it will be a character style and it has to be blue and underlined. Okay, and what you can do is you set that up. So let's say in a 200-page book you have 100 URLs in there that are all colored blue and underlined, and the decision maker comes to you one day and says they want all of the URLs to be green. Well, that would take hours. But what you'll do is you'll go in to your character style and you will change the character style of your websites from blue to green, and it will change it across all 200 pages, and then you get to hit save and go to lunch early. So you can understand as we get into the larger document next week how important creating and applying these character styles and paragraph styles can be. They can make your work extremely easy and just give you that ability to make document-wide changes with a click. All right, that is all.